Do you believe in hypnosis? Many more are accepting its efficacy in terms of therapy compared to stage or street demonstrations, but it's due to street and stage demonstrations that so many are skeptical and quicker to jump the gun and call others' experiences fake versus study why different people are reacting different ways to the same general process. This is significant because it not only explains the exact parts of the brain that are altered when tranced, but how someone could be caused to disassociate, which could explain why someone may experience temporary name amnesia during a stage show. Not surprisingly though, these scientific discoveries are typically outshined by the entertainment-based reach of Hollywood, which, until the Now You See Me series, never really showcased it in any other light than something to be wary or scared of. If you think about it, that very fear-based belief was a form of entertainment-based hypnosis. It created a hypothetical scenario that most people wanted to avoid, yet realistically and scientifically was fake, because, for example, there is no quote-unquote sunken place, as portrayed in the movie Get Out. As a result, people chose to believe in a false reality, similar to but much darker in concept to the movie Office Space. Then again, science isn't typically dropping a Hollywood fortune on promoting their discoveries via social media ads the way Hollywood has. This doesn't mean that Hollywood isn't onto something though, because if we do our due diligence and look back several decades, the Freedom of Information Act exposed the CIA for creating and covertly carrying out a program called MKUltra, which the CIA has now publicly documented on its website, along a slew of hypnosis-related research and discoveries. MKUltra specifically was designed for the sole purpose of discovering literal human mind control. Started by CIA chemist Sidney Gottlieb and approved by CIA Director Alan Dulles, this was the CIA's response to a fear-based belief that foreign agents were trying to brainwash US prisoners of war to achieve mind control. MKUltra consisted of various experiments ranging from shock therapy, sensory deprivation, sexual abuse, LSD, and hypnosis. Gottlieb's goal was to discover how to erase someone's natural personality and replace it with a new one that would react to commands it was given and do someone else's bidding without the restrictions of morals, ethics, or the like. The CIA first tested this by buying the world's supply of LSD, bringing it to the United States of America, and both legally as well as illegally dosing people throughout the United States in several different secret projects, students at university trials funded by the CIA, or by covertly dosing soldiers, prisoners, and even innocent civilians. As an ironic byproduct, many became more self-aware, open-minded, and began questioning the very authority that was trying to actually control them. Counterproductively, this spawned the very counterculture of the 60s we've become so familiar with. If LSD wasn't going to work, and as a documentary on YouTube explains from the perspective of victims' families, shock therapy was literally killing and destroying the lives of its subjects, maybe hypnosis was the answer. What's interesting is that while they claimed that their studies in that day and age concluded that there's no reliable use for hypnosis beyond general relaxation, motivation, and goal setting, the Department of Justice has reported that it can, in fact, be misused in the court of law. What's more, there's been several cases of modern mind control and covert hypnosis, such as the man who sued proving there was an illegally implanted mind control chip in his head, as well as an Ohio-based voice lawyer who was sentenced to prison in 2017 after being caught hypnotizing one of his many female clients. Interestingly, around that same time, there was a study done proving the neurological changes and disassociation one can experience when genuinely hypnotized. That said, MKUltra and the voice lawyer are obviously extreme examples of the dark side of hypnosis, but I decided to invite a skeptic to my entertainment channel to see if I couldn't personally get them to experience a phenomenon, like amnesia, using either covert and or direct hypnosis techniques.
Yeah, I just I've never seen it done or anything, and yeah, definitely skeptical.
My educated guess is, in your everyday life, whether it's a personal conversation or a work-related conversation, you're not talking with someone and you don't feel like they're trying to like hypnotize or control you, do you?
No,
Do you think or feel like you would know if that was the case?
maybe.
I like that answer. You're starting to question reality. It's just talking to a friend. It's okay for right now. It's going to get worse. So, yes or no, have you ever been in like a car, for example, and you hear a bop and you're like bopping to it, whether you're going to from work or somewhere else, and like you know this is your jam, but you haven't heard it in a while, and then like the tip of the name of the song is on the tip of your tongue, but you can't quite put your finger on it, and like you know it, but you don't like know it
All the time.
all the time. So if you take a simple concept like that, like your name, and just not forget to remember, or to remember to forget, think about what isn't your name was again. Close your eyes. No, relax, breathe out, relax all the way. Just completely let go physically. Completely let go as if you're going to fall asleep in that chair, knowing that you won't be a fall asleep. But you can allow yourself to mentally float, drift, glide as your body physically relaxes. Slowly lift up your head, open your eyes, and re-enter that state and allow yourself to let go completely right now. Sleep and completely let go. Allow the head just droop right down. Allow the shoulders to immediately relax. 9. Sleep, relax, let go. 8. Sleep, let go. 7. Sleep. 3. Sleep. 1. Sleep. Imagine for a moment what it would just hypothetically be like to have amnesia. It's almost like saying something that you know very well, like your name or the name of an item, like a pen or a computer, and saying it so often it almost loses meaning. So there's almost no point in even thinking about it. But what it would be like to just let that go and erase it from your mind. And if you can truly, for a moment, tap into your childhood-like sense of imagination, even more so your artistic sense, and get a feel in your mind's eye for what that would feel like to just completely have that erased from your memory. If you think you can do that and you think you can feel that in your mind's eye, nod your head. And you can think about trying to say it now. You can open your mouth a little bit if you want to, and you can say it if you think you can, but if you use that artistic sense, there's nothing to say. As per that highlight clip, all it takes are some carefully executed psychological techniques to guide someone into a frame of thought or feeling you'd like them to experience. This is, in fact, a form of brainwashing if it were to be carried out in a specific manner over a long period of time. This is just one of many of the dark realities that are possible with the tool known as hypnosis. And this is exactly what Hollywood banks on, the dark, alluring mystery of how it all will play out. Just remember, hypnosis itself is merely a tool that can go one way or another. It can help someone or ruin someone's life. Like Sister Marie Morgan said in the past lesson discussing the nature of hypnosis, is all about the intention of the hypnotist. On the flip side of all this, curiosity can be just as dangerous, if not more so, if you spend a lot of time alone inside your home, on your phone or computer. I've encountered a plethora of young introverted adults who have admitted to being taken advantage of online by hypnopredators. This is why I was so thrilled to have my friend and colleague Keiki join me for a deep dive interview regarding her intense experiences with psychological conditioning, cults, and the overall dark art of covert hypnosis. And this is...
Hi, I'm Lady Keiki Doll. I'm a ex-certified hypnotherapist and have been doing the lifestyle of fetish hypnosis kink for over 25 plus years. And I live it daily. You know, it always starts with movies and TV shows of mind control stuff. But for me, I think it was when I was a child. I actually convinced my grandmother to not allow me to brush my teeth anymore. I convinced her to I logically used like NLP and I didn't even know. I was 8, I think. logically to use NLP, that I didn't know I was using NLP, to convince her that I don't have to brush my teeth.
And can you
So,
give us like an example of what you were saying, if you even remember?
oh yeah, it's like um, is emotional memory. So I basically just said I don't really have to brush my teeth because my tongue actually constantly cleans my teeth, as I always do with my mouth. So it gets off all the grind for me. Basically, is what I said in the gist of it.
That's interesting. And I know that, and maybe this was part of it, and you can either confirm or deny this accusation, but I've learned throughout the years that this simple using of the word because in a sentence when you're trying to reason with someone, even if it doesn't make logical sense or seem like a valid, legitimate reason of what you're trying to talk about, that in their mind subconsciously, the word because makes them think, oh, well, they have a reason, so it's okay.
Yep, that's right.
I've never heard of that kid using NLP to get out and brushing their teeth. If I would have known about that when I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I probably would have done that.
Well, you got to think about it. Kids have been using manipulative words all the time since they're little because they learn it from the adults and everything. So, but the kids are way smarter than a lot of people take credit for. So they know how to get what they want. If you see them at the store and they're just throwing a tantrum, that's them using their own little manipulative ways to get their way. And they've they've got the reins on their own parents on whatever that is. So as you get older and that's not reined in, they just, those types usually end up being entitled. But um there was an instance where I convinced my grandmother also, when she walked in on me and my loved one, as we're kind of semi naked, convinced her that that's not what that was that she saw. And yeah, I was 19. And that's not what she saw, and she totally believed that I was doing an art project for my college.
So, what are projects? How'd you do that? How'd you convince her?
Well, I got out of the room to the downstairs part before she could see that I was, not in my clothes. And so she saw my loved one topless and trying to put their pants up. And so I told my grandmother that no, 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 it's not. I was being very, I do a charismatic type way when I talk to people. And I just looked at her very seriously and I said, no, it's not what you think. She was just really excited to pose for me because I was going to draw her nude for my college art work. So she believed that. But, my grandfather was right next to me and he was just laughing with the newspaper over his face because he knew what was going on. But
So,
he could see the seriousness I had with my grandmother's, because I had the mirroring of her, and that's one of the things that you do with someone to convince them, like to make sure that, oh yeah, that's right. So I mirrored her to do that.
so physically mirroring in that situation plus social vocal conviction.
Hmm.
That's cool. I mean, I know that stuff already, but I mean, for the people who are just getting into this, who might just be learning it or using this as a refresher, like that's a real life situation you actually utilized it in. And it's so interesting. And that actually brings to mind situations where people are led to believe through basic conversation and or interrogation methods, even that either in this case, that something they thought was happening wasn't happening in the opposite in the opposite perspective of people who are made to believe through conversing and interrogation that they did something they didn't do.
Exactly. Yeah. That
So
that moment was the reason that got me into hypnosis. Right then and there was the direct reason why I wanted to get certified and get everything done, because I also saw that you can help people, and that's the ultimate thing I really wanted to do, was to help people, and I could convince people to, mentally help themselves in whatever aspects of their life. And so moving to like 5 years after I tried to run my own business, which ran to the ground quickly because back in 1995, no one's ever heard of hypnotherapy or hypnosis, and there was no Google to Google that stuff up to research it to know that has health benefits. But in today's time, you can actually get it covered by Medicare, and certain insurance covers hypnotherapy now. But back then it wasn't, and it cost around $500 to $800 per hour with a hypnotherapist, and no insurance benefits for it. Now it's like you get $20 upfront fee, and that's it. So 5 years later, the internet was starting to buzz, right? And my life was, I got married, had kids. It got really rough in that marriage because inner turmoil with me and my life. But when the internet started, I became a professional gamer, and I became more social online because it was cool, it was hip. And then bounced accidentally that there's a hypno community. That hypno community is now defunct, but it was called hypnotizeme.snapville.com, something like that. And the interesting thing was it was built better than MySpace, and was built like Facebook, like it had a Facebook engine. So it was ahead of its time, way ahead of its time. This must have been around 2003, 2004-ish, around there.
Oh, wow.
And that's incredible that it was there, and I just happened across it. And you could do multiples of camera things that you can't do today. You could actually have 5 camera sessions going on privately, separately, all on the same screen. They would be super small little windows, but each one you can do it. But you have to turn off your camera, of course, for each one to see you. So back then, I juggled from one to the other constantly. It was a cool program, and I was thinking, oh wow, so there's hypnosis stuff, and I saw on the internet, because everything's on the internet, like fetish and hypnosis. I was like, huh, that's interesting. They have this stuff. They're using mind control stuff on the internet. It's like, whoever thought, thunk it. And I also came across a Yahoo
Oh,
360 was a messenger that was the cream of the crop back then.
oh,
Yeah,
Yahoo.
IRC chats, they had all that hypno stuff. I never went in the IRC chats. I really didn't like it because it was just like, I felt like it was fast food hypnosis stuff. But that comes later. The Yahoo 360 stuff, I really didn't at the first realize people were taking this stuff serious. Like every word you said, they took it very serious. They took it so serious that they would block you if you were just joking around, that you would throw them off a cliff and do a little wily coyote anvil fall on top of their head, and they would block me and report me to a moderator.
Do you
So
think
it's like,
that's because there was so little valid information on what topics regarding the hypnosis that they were trying to get into, that they just took everything so literally and seriously?
yes, very much so. So I actually joined the first beginning of a cult on Yahoo 360. Didn't even know I was, like in the top ranks. I was just goofing off with everybody because I didn't really realize it was legitimately like a real thing. But the hypnotize me dot Snapville, that one was very legitimate, and had me start to realize really quickly um, the the intricates of what people have been doing. I didn't realize it was really affecting people left and right. I didn't let anybody know I know hypnosis. I didn't let anybody know that I did these things uh, before coming on the internet.
Why
And
was
so,
that exactly?
huh?
Why was that exactly?
Oh, because it's the internet. I mean, why would you share it's like one of the main things about internet, and one of the main things about men, why women love certain types of men, they love the kind that are abusive or, dirty, ragged, but they also like people who are mysterious. When you keep all the cards you hold mysteriously to your chest, a lot of the people are attracted to that. So, but I touted myself later. I mean, it must have been a couple years later. I touted myself of boasting of my qualifications, not qualifications, but more like being so open-minded that I share a little bit of my life with them, and people opened up and they liked that because I was so open. But at the same time, I held back all my cards from them knowing all about me because it's the internet. You don't know what's going to happen if you had all the information out there.
So just enough to reel them in and get them interested, and then holding the rest, which creates the intrigue to stick around.
Right.
And then,
Tease.
did you say that one of these things was a hypno cult?
Yeah, the Yahoo 360 ended up being one of the largest cults ever.
And how'd you know that? Or how'd you figure it
Um,
out?
by someone who had actually enslaved me and let me know of the cult.
So wait, were you enslaved and then informed, or informed and then enslaved?
I was I was enslaved and then informed, and there's a reason why that person utilized me afterwards. It's like I had some pain issues going on, and I trusted someone to hypnotize me to help me with my pain and a little bit of my depression because they said they're really good. Their name was Doll Maker, and there's hundreds of doll makers, but this person knows who I'm talking about. And their tactics was the most interesting one I've ever come across of trying to covertly get someone, and it was basically anticipation. That's what he used in his method to enslave me. um so he would get in the session, we would and this was by text, by the way. It's like, oh, I can't be hypnotized by text. Like, oh no, you totally get hypnotized by text. It's like if you can read a book that's so engrossing and then you realize 5 hours passed because you're so engrossed with it. That's the same aspect of hypnosis by text.
So
And
so first, I'm curious, how did you even get in contact with this individual? Was it through the 360 forum?
no, it's through the site itself because he had a great picture on there, and the information on there was kind of the fetishes I was actually into.
Okay.
Uh, I like dollification and I like objectification, robotification, but that was only because of pictures. I didn't even realize people were actually completely interacting to be that until I got to that website.
And do you think that that part of you stemmed from the background of mental or emotional or physiological abuse that you had experienced, or did that all start when you joined the cult?
When I joined. Um, so the guy who did that tactics with me, anticipation, he literally used, I would say, maybe 5 sentences total. And then the last sentence he already had me under, and then he just says, you're completely enslaved to me, kind of thing. It's like, oh, that can't happen. It's like, oh, it did. I just totally believed it and everything because he knew how to mentally get to the people. It doesn't work with everybody, but certain people that have a huge buildup who believe on it so much, if you got the anticipation beforehand, they got you, and he got me.
So I think it's very important to note to everyone, especially for
Yeah.
their safety going in, because we talked a little bit about this during the dark side of virtual hypnosis, how there are certain red flags, and we'll link that blog down below for everyone who watches this free lesson. That, for example, when you're going to like sites like Omegle or whatever, and there are people who aren't showing their faces, and there are YouTubers who post videos of not showing their faces, but showing people that they're hypnotizing that find them on the internet. So in your sense, there was this person used anticipation to grab you and grab your attention. And at that point, you're bought into just enough and you're invested just enough that you're intrigued to stick around. And then you're so open-minded and willing to just absorb anything and everything that to an extent you're willing to believe, or you start at least subconsciously believing that, hey, maybe this could be happening, which I think, as you and I have discussed in the past, is just enough of a subconscious thought that you're literally subconsciously opening yourself up to anything that comes from that specific person or topic, which can lead to exactly what you're about to get into. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And that's the where you can begin to get psychologically and or emotionally manipulated, correct?
Yep. Whenever that happens, you know, we call him like a hypno predator because he's going against consensual morals and all that. And in order to continue the enslavement, you have to do like brainwashing, conditioning, and such. And he quickly did that as fast as he could. And he had a hypno program that was like a flash that he claims that he wrote the program for, and he had me sit in a hypnotic daze and watch it. And he wanted me to be a freaking cheerleader, stripper, and a doll at the same time.
Not even
So
sure how that would work, but okay, that's
yeah,
interesting.
it was. I mean, until you're actually under in a daze, and he opens up your mind. The person opened up your mind enough that whatever's flashing in front of you starts to absorb on a subconscious level, and you literally fuse into whatever's being in front of you.
So right before we continue, let's say red flag. This is kind of like the start of the red flag territory.
Yep.
So red flag number one, they're using mystery and intrigue and anticipation to catch your attention without fully telling you or elaborating what they want or what they're going to do, correct?
Correct.
And you're just left there intrigued and asking them more and more. So if you're asking them, it's because you want to know more, but then that's a indirect sign to them that you are subconsciously opening it up and saying, hey, I want to learn more, and I'm coming to you. So I'm kind of in some way subconsciously trusting you to reveal to me or teach me more or bring me more in, which is basically kind of their subconscious invitation to your mind to basically continue, as you're putting it, continue building anticipation without ever telling you anything specific. So if someone starts to find someone online, maybe that, or even in the real world, because I'm sure you've had this happen in the real world too, if they're building your anticipation with secrecy and vagueness, but they're not telling you exactly what's going to happen or what to expect, or asking for any form of consent for something that your gut feels might be not what you're in for, that would be red flag number one, correct?
Exactly. It's just one question after another, just fires off one after the other, trying to get complete info on me. And thank goodness he never asked for like my credit card or anything like that, because that usually people who've been in hypnosis type stuff, their morals will instantly just kick them right out, and then that's that. He didn't do that because he knew a lot. I'm assuming from his experience that they would quickly wake up and duck out and disappear. So he just glided right at the precipice of morals with me, and then he just bombarded my mind with paranoia and such that I needed him really badly, and such that I'm the only one that can help you feel better, like what you're feeling right now. Nobody else and stuff.
And this was, you were already entranced at this point.
Oh yeah,
So
he did this all in one night.
Okay, so and this was this an open eye trance or was this closed entrancement?
Oh, this is open eye the whole way.
Okay, so going back to red flag number one, for everyone who watches and or reads this lesson, is that if they're pushing continuously, reeling you in without any specifics, that what she's describing right now is something that you need to look out for yourself, because that means that technically speaking, they could be leading you into the same thing that she just is now telling us all, because I'm learning this along with you guys, that she experienced. Now, granted, I've posted myself on YouTube stealing a friend's credit card on college campus, but we had a background and I had agreed with his consent to do something shady that I would eventually later pay back. And he didn't understand at the point, but then I showed him, just for clarification, I showed him the footage after we filmed it, and then I literally gave him his money back because you know, legalities, and I'm not an asshole. But and this is just like so much and so crazy that this all happened, and a lot of people don't realize that, and this is part of the reason I want to do Covert, is because people don't realize that you can be manipulated without being closed eyes in a ookie kooky trance. I'm going to turn you into a chicken, stuff that people think about hypnosis being. And I think that goes hand in hand with, you said you're bombarded with all these things and you start getting overwhelmed, and that kind of goes hand in hand with our lesson from last year of mass hypnosteria with COVID, where if enough sources come together and then just bombard you with a certain idea, especially if it's a negative, you start second guessing, you start worrying, you start concerning yourself, and that breaks down a lot for you. It breaks down your psychology, it breaks down your immune system because of all the stress and anxiety, which ironically with COVID would make you more susceptible to the COVID. In this case, it's breaking down your psychology and making you question yourself just enough that they can use that as a way to put their foot in the door and then begin some of the stuff I'm sure you're about to get into, correct?
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, so after he realized I was very suggestible and he you know bombarded me with all that stuff, um, he laxed off, and then the next day he drew me back in instantly because he already implanted a trigger that I was enslaved and that these certain words I would instantly go under for him. I would instantly come to him, and I did, and then he just wean out some more information about me, and morally I was able to keep a lot of things really private. But in the end, I finally started to realize what his real goal was, and he finally told me what it was that he wanted me to do. He hypnotized me to recall what he used so I can use it on others. But he didn't already knew how to hypnotize. But that was an extra set of instrument that I could use on someone else because he wanted me to, and he wanted me to go get other people. But I mean, this is like he's already say given me 5 days conditioning nonstop, even though I have obligations at home and stuff. He allowed me to do those, and then afterwards I would get back on late at night, 5 hours straight of him conditioning, and then right after that, he told me his ultimate goal, what he wanted. He wanted me to get more people, to get females for him to do the same thing. So he, you know, like hypnopredators, they want a harem, and then
Let's
it,
pause right there, because
yeah,
you said a little bit, but I don't think the average person realized how much you just said. So going from the red flag number one, I think the next red flag is they're creating a sense of psychological and emotional dependency within you for them. So that's I think red flag number two is they're telling you point blank, like in some way, shape, or form, either directly or indirectly, hey, you need me. So red flag number two is creating that dependency. Number three, as a result of that dependency, the next red flag is you're feeling like you have an urge, as if almost it's natural and it's supposed to happen, even though it's not really who you might be, that you need to come back on a regular, if not like you just said, a daily basis. That is a serious red flag, the dependency to come back. And then 4, it's a cult. He's having you recruit people. That's like literally what cults would do, is try to get you. And that, God, that literally reminds me of religions. That's crazy. Like, go out and convert people and bring them to our community. It's like scary and messed up, but also fascinating at the same time. And sorry, I'm just like emotionally letting all this all absorb in, because yeah, we've never talked about this experience with you before and I know that you're not even going that deep, but like the reality that I've unfortunately met people in your position, and now obviously you. So would you say that's a good 3 or 4 consecutive red flags? Would that be correct, or would you correct
Yeah.
any of that?
The only one I would add to it is guilt.
Guilt.
They
Okay.
make you feel guilt for double thinking what their purpose is, questioning them. Because I questioned him, why are we doing this, whatever, and then he would come up with sympathy conversation type of, in a covert way, to make me feel guilty for asking, so I would never get the information. And that's when I started to learn to hone in on what I already knew on NLP to get information out of them, because I really wanted to know, what the hell am I doing
And you
and
still
why.
didn't know.
Yeah, I still didn't know.
So
And
so if you guys start feeling guilt, or whoever you're talking to starts, and I've actually heard that before now that I think about it, if they start implementing a sense of guilt and be like, hey, you're guilty for trying to leave me, you're guilty for not following up with me, you're guilty for not listening to me, or you're guilty not for following through, guilt in any way, shape, or form is a literal brainwashing cult mentality thing. And I think, because I studied Scientology in high school before I graduated, and I didn't even know what Scientology was, but that sounds very similar to what they do. Is like they guilt you and be like, hey, if you can't get your family or friends to join, they don't give a damn about you, they don't love you, and you need to fully cut them off because we're the only ones that care about you. And they literally guilt you and brainwash you into fully cutting everyone out of your life.
yep.
And is that similar to what he was doing, or is that a bit of extreme?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. So when I finally got information out of them, it turned to find out that I knew of this cult. I didn't realize I was part of the cult that was on Yahoo 360. And that it was almost like hearsay to even mention that cult. And they were known as the Al Group, but everybody who's in the cult knows them as Mr. Daniels, Mr. Daniels cult. And I realized that a lot of people were starting to get banned on the Hypnotize Me website if they mentioned it in a writing or something, or they had a picture of the cult or something, or even asked about it, like, who is this cult, anybody can tell me so I know I could be safe. No, they banned them right off the website and not even explain why they did that. And he was giving me a purpose, and that purpose was that he wanted me to save the people in those cults. Mind you, he's a hypnopredator, and his basis is, he told me finally that they have a hypno program that he created, and then they took it from him and they made it even better. The flash hypno program to condition people, and it's way 10 times more better than his. And but it's very similar. You can tell right off the bat how similar.
Are you
And
saying that he, as a hypnopredator, and I don't mean to keep interrupting you, but I think these are really good points to make. As a hypnopredator, he manipulated you to make you into a follower to recruit other people to save them?
that's like his way of making me feel like I have a purpose, to make
So
him think
that's
that
all
he's
part
a
of,
good person.
sorry, what you were
No, no,
saying.
no, it's for real. Yes, he was making me have a purpose to make, because I was asking moralistic things, and he was like, he shouted it with, no, I am a good person. We're gonna go get those people from that cult and bring them and unbrainwash them and take help them.
So that's
So I
his
was like,
facade.
yeah, his purpose was he wanted revenge, so he wanted to get, help unbrainwash people because his program was taken and the popularity of Mr. Daniels' Owl group was increasing dramatically. And I started to do what he said. I went out to, talk to people randomly that you can tell they're part of the owl group because they would turn their avatar that was similar to something that had to deal with the owl group, because that's what the cult members all do, is make their avatars like that. And or certain cues in their profiles, and even on hypnotizeme.com, when the moderators don't catch them, they have clues in their profile that says that's who they are. So I went after those people for them, lure them to me to unbrainwash them, and then I don't remember if I actually kept some of the programming in there to give to him afterwards. But I remember he subconsciously controlled me to send them to him after I deprogrammed them. So then some of them I made good friends with. I ended up good friends with, and then they would go to him, and then they would just disappear. They stopped messaging me altogether. They wouldn't message back. So it really was a red flag for me. Like, okay, why am I got good friend out of them, and then suddenly they never message back anymore? But they continue to talk to them because I can tell they're online and all
So it's
this
like
stuff.
the virtual version of Scientology, like we talked about.
Yeah, it was like a mental game on itself that was playing on my emotions. And then I would ask, and then he would hypnotize me and make it all smooth over, and and he would do more paranoia type stuff, gaslighting like crazy.
Thank you for saying that word,
That's the
gaslighting.
get to.
That is huge. It's also like we talked about earlier in this lesson, and like we're all going to be talking about even more intricately in the training. That is literally, I mean, not only how they can grab your attention with the intrigue and everything and start making you think, the more intrigued and the more you come to them, the more consistently they can gaslight you into believing things, but also it's like an interrogation of convicting someone who's completely innocent is gaslighting them enough that they begin to believe a false accusation about themselves.
Yep.
And so how quickly or slowly did it take him to gaslight you and use all these red flags to manipulate you to go from where you were when you first joined to basically full hypnotic enslavement?
He did that in one day, and then 1 week was solidifying.
How deep and enslaved were you? And give us some details about that, if you don't mind. Like, how deep did you go? How did you know you were that deep? And what were you unfortunately made to think, feel, or believe in that time period?
Um, like he wanted me to hypnotize my partner, my spouse. And that was when I was like, that actually drew the line. But I actually, I did try, but it didn't work because my morals wouldn't allow me. I couldn't do it. And then it really started to hurt because my brain was like, I'm disobeying, because he put it in there. If I disobey, it would be bad for me, and it was painful. And so in order to get around it, to skirt around it, I had to gaslight him back and say, yeah, I did this, I did that, when I never did.
Would
In order,
you, sorry, would you say this is like the covert version of getting someone into a Stockholm relationship?
yep, very much so.
I just thought about that. That's so messed up.
He made me I ended up falling in love with him too. So yeah, the cult thing, um because I truly, for I think it was a good 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a good 5 years I was his slave online. And I really still, during the whole entire time until towards the end, the last 2 years, that uh, I thought I was doing righteous things and I was doing good things. And the hypnocult, Mr. Daniels, I didn't realize I was actually part of that group. And that comes circle too. It's like I realized after going through the ranks and getting people to be unbrainwashed from them and stuff, I realized that on my side job when I'm not with Dollmaker, I was actually part of that cult, and I didn't realize they were actually Mr. Daniels' cult that I was with, that I was enslaving other people anyway. But that was because I didn't know. I thought these were just people who are role playing, but no, they were part of it. And then I realized when I saw more people pop up that I already unbrainwashed that were in the group, and I was like, wait a minute. And it started made me realize the wheels started turning. I was like, oh shit.
How did you manage to get yourself from a level, and really quick, let's also touch base on the fact that we talked before, I think you got to the point where like you were fully emotionally or psychologically enslaved and like fully his, or going to become his, or suicidal, or going to relationship with him, or what was that?
Yeah, I would have to say I've been in multiple cults, and the last one was in 2017. But this one is with Dollmaker, and that was 2004 to 2009 ish. And I will definitely lead up to it because um, I um, I did get suicidal in that one, as well as the one in 2017 as well. Um, and I'll explain how that got to that point too. Um, I'm going to solidify what this Mr. Daniels have done to people. And I was actually kind of glad that I never really got into it. I'm empathic as well. So after deprogramming a lot of enslaved people for Mr. Daniels, my mindset would end up being like that too. And in order for me to undo what was done to them, I had to get to the mind state of how they thought. And this also has to do with covert means to do so. And so I would mirror them, I would get them in there and then find out if whether or not they were improperly without consent brought into hypnotized to be enslaved. And once I get the consent that they want me to undo it and that it's disrupting their life in real life, because the cult also wanted them to be strippers and then they would send the money to the cult from during their stripping. And they would do other jobs for the cult to give the head guy money. And the head guy who ran the whole thing, to be honest, I met him, and no offense, but he was really dumb as a box of rocks. I think he was doing the same thing. I think he didn't realize how badly he was doing what he was doing, but he did every cult mentality, including making sure the people who were enslaved to have files constantly sent to their emails, having their phone numbers. They ended up getting their phone numbers, so they would have the recruiters constantly recalling them, and to make sure that they can bring them back if they were unbrainwashed. And they would send people even to their places. Now, as for that, I'm not really certain if that was even true or not, but I've been told that's what happened. They've had some subs that would go out trying to re-get somebody and then back into the cult. I don't know how much that is just attention and how much that's just, hearsay and never happened.
Sounds a
But
lot like Scientology, though.
yeah, so they really did that stuff. So after a while, I had my marriage was really rocky during that time, and I did become very suicidal. Um, and they had to take care of me, kind of thing. And I was glad that the moderator of Hypnotize Me kind of saved my life by sending a cop to my place because I really wanted to be part of something. And after no one was listening to me, I didn't have like my own psychologist to help with my inner issues that I had for myself. And this cult thing made me want to belong and be there and do these things. And I couldn't because I had family things to take care of. So I couldn't. So my brain was racking that I wanted this stuff and I couldn't. And that snapped me out of it after the cop was called to my uh, my place. And shout out to the person who called that. You know who you are. So thank you.
Were you basically being given a false sense of purpose? And that's
Yeah,
what kind of led you down the spiral?
yeah. That and I already had issues to compound on top of it. So, I mean, hypnotists, hypnopredators, and cults, they don't really care about your inner life and your inner issues or your mental capacities or issues with that. They just want to get point A to point B now,
And
you know.
compound all the negativity.
Yeah.
So,
Dollmaker did a good job, but he didn't realize I was that bad and he made it worse by accident. So
how do you go from seemingly depressed and suicidal and with a lack of purpose to where you are now? Because that's a really big transition. Not everyone makes it out of.
yeah, that was when I started working on myself. I actually got a psychologist for myself afterwards because you need to, you know, this cult stuff does that to you. There's all kinds of stuff that happened in between, but in order to show you how I got out of, or to explain how I got to get out of the control of Dollmaker, um, there was a series of traumatic events that ended up being my mind's own PTSD that stopped my mind from being taken easily because that he's been doing with me, that he's done to me. And I didn't realize it was building up. It's like my own safety net building up, like like your immune system attacking certain words and certain actions and stuff. And then even while I'm under, it helped me start opening up and seeing all the things that he was manipulating and gaslighting me for. And there was one sub that I really loved. We called her Robodoll Marie because she was my first Robodoll, and I created the term Robodoll on the internet. No other person on there did but me. I mean, there's robot dolls and there's all these other kinds, but the term Robodoll came from me. I created it with her, and I can share pics and excerpts from that with you on that. Um, that was an emotional connection I had with that person. I didn't realize when I was trying to gather her for him that she had an underlying thing. Like for me, because I was a hypnotherapist, I still had the morals that I wanted to negotiate with them to make sure that we're doing things on the level because I felt like she needed it. And so I gave it to her, and it turned to find out I turned her addiction to hypnosis. And later on, she thanked me because she hid something from me because I asked her all personal things before I put her under, and especially mental issues or anything. They always hide that stuff. But for her, she said thank you because she was addicted to morphine, and I got her off the addiction for being addicted to hypnosis, and that cured her, and she thanked me for it. And I was like, oh, you're welcome. But then I didn't realize the reason why I didn't even think of it. Why was she on morphine to begin with? There was a reason why. She was going to college, she had pressure, she was living with her parents, and turned out her father was a child beater. And that's why she was on morphine. I didn't realize he was doing that bad until later. And all the stuff I worked with her was I helped her get rid of her night terror. I helped her learn to stand up for herself mentally. at the same time, Dollmaker was subconsciously telling me to insert him as the leader over her during the whole entire time that we were together. And I didn't realize I was even doing that. And so one day, inadvertently, because I didn't know her father was a beater, um, she stood up for herself against her father, and she ended up breaking her arm in the fight and being choked unconscious. And her mother came to the aid and finally realized, after she was put in the hospital, that they need to change what they're doing with their life. So they completely restructured their, what they've been doing supposedly. And I never heard from her then for like 3 months. I'm like, what the hell happened to her? I didn't know she got beaten up and she was put in the hospital. So Dollmaker was concerned about me because I started questioning. It's like, oh, she's fine. She's with me. I'm like, wait, she's with you? Why is she with you? Oh, because we're in love. I'm like, in love? Why would she be in love with you? Because he took the love that she had for me and flipped it to him. Because that's what they do. They take whatever that's, subconsciously that into that. When you have that much control, when you've given up so much of your inner soul in a hypnosis session, that you're so enslaved by whatever's going on in the addiction of it, you're opened up to the point that you can legitimately have fake love for somebody that you don't even know. And that's what happened. He flipped all the stuff I did on her as if he was the one who did it all. And so that really shattered my ceiling, and that really awoke me up to the whole thing. That was enough for me to realize I need to get out of this. I need to, I really love the girl, and he already supposedly, he said that they already met up and had sex together and stuff. And I'm like, why would you tell me that? But he says like, oh no, yeah, I want you to come too. And I'm like, yeah, but it kind of like shattered my belief system. I didn't say that, but it did. It was enough for me to realize I need to get out of my mindset and deprogram myself somehow. And that was the niche that I needed. So I had a sub um, who I didn't actually let him know very much about. And I made sure that he wasn't going to program me to make her his. So I set her aside, and I spent like good 10 hours trying to have her hypnotize me, self-hypnotize me. And where I was going to do a legitimate hypno battle, which is it's like a game that people play with each other. They know your weaknesses, so then you go into a hypno battle with each other and see who can hypnotize each other the best. And I always won that because I'm really good at it. And I was going to do that with my master Dollmaker to break his hold completely, finally. So I set up my screen with my sub on one side and Dollmaker on the other side. So whenever he uses his triggers, my gaze would come over to my sub because they're watching what's going on as well. He doesn't know that she's watching his screen share. And she saw it, and she would quickly use a trigger that used on me to undo it. And sure enough, within like, I guess, 30-minute text battle, went up almost to an hour. I finally was able to break free, and I NLP'd him and hypnotized him, and without consent, because I was paying back what he's done to me. These guys, I realize all this stuff is fake, because I asked everybody before I even did all this stuff, reel it back a little. I investigated every single claim he had. The only claim he had that was legitimate was that Mr. Daniels took his program and used it, and he just wanted revenge on them. That was the ultimate. Everything else was a lie. And so getting my revenge back at him, I made him feel little, and made him understand that, yeah, I was already a hypnotist before he knew me, because he didn't know. And a lot of this stuff was fake, and I was just venting back at him. And that's how I was able to finally break free.
We'll probably put links down in the description of the video, but just as a verbal thing, in case they just want to hear it and they can search it off that, what are some ways they can contact you for help?
If you're on FetLife, I'm lady_Keiki_doll. I'm also on Facebook as keikilani Frazee. That's Keiki space ALANI space FRAZEE, and it's the same as it is on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. I think that's basically it. Skype. I'm always on Skype. I have like thousands of contacts on there, and we do Skype hypno parties.
She does. I've checked. And the scary thing is, she has over 10 times the amount of emails.
Yes, I do.
I looked at it and got stressed out looking at it.
Fan base for a long time. My Skype is lady.keiki.Frazee. Keiki spelled the same way as Facebook and FetLife. So
I have to apologize because oh, sorry, you were saying?
I'm in Discord and all the other things. You can just contact me in any of those manners. So
I've been waiting, and I've been waiting so many years to do a training and lesson on this. And I'm so happy that I met you before finally going public with it, because we just met a few years ago. And I started recording training for this lesson, for this general training that we're going to release at the same day that this lesson is being released years ago. And what we're about to go over in the training version of this is so much more detailed and so much more intricate. And I'm so pumped for people to hear and see what you and I are going to reveal to them inside the training. So thank you for agreeing to also collaborate with me on the training, because it's going to be so good. And there's already good stuff in it. And I already know you're about to just throw some bombshells in there. So let's get to doing that. And for everyone else, again, this is Lady Cake. I'm gonna let you do the outro.
Lady Keiki doll.
And I'm Hypnotist John Ways. Feel free to use the link in the description. Top link will lead to this month's blog breakdown of most of what we just covered, but in a little bit more intricate details on certain topics. And at the very end, you're going to have a invitation link to actually come see the full detailed breakdown covert hypnosis training, also being released on the same day as this lesson. So if you enjoyed this lesson, you're going to more than enjoy the actual full training that her and I and everyone else I've collaborated on this are about to offer you. And if you have any questions, or if you're currently in a bad situation, again, there are going to be other links in the description for you to contact her directly, and so she can help you through. We're going to put some things in the training, but I also know that, and I preach this in HypnoKick's mentorship, that pre-recorded trainings, whether it's audio or video or what have you, are never going to compare to a one-on-one personalized, tailored experience for whatever it is you're going to the hypnotist for, which is why we're going to put her contact information down the link. So if you need a personalized session, she'll be there for you, because honestly, she's way more of an expert at that and has way more years of experience than I do. And that's why I trusted her to come on here. So thank you for popping on. I appreciate you. If you yourself have been a victim of abuse by a hypnopredator, Keiki's been professionally certified to help with various types of trauma, and her links will be in the description below. Additionally, if you'd like to learn a detailed breakdown of covert hypnosis for the purpose of helping yourself read people, spotting hypnopredators, avoiding cults, improving your own health, or watch my skeptic's full unedited experience and post-session thoughts, links to HypnoKick's covert hypnosis training, as well as the sources that made this entire lesson possible, will be featured in the description. If you're still watching and listening to this, I hope this shed a little bit of light on what's become a very widely debated, studied, and proven topic that can easily change your life for the better with the right guidance and intention. Naturally, if you ever want to learn more, there's numerous free lessons and detailed trainings on HypnoKick.com.